Welcome to In Her Own Name, where women stop whispering their greatness and tell the power of their own stories, with your host, Lillian Obogo. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever in the world you are, and welcome to another episode of In Her Own Name. Now, you know this is a show about where women stop whispering their brilliance and start owning their brilliance. We don't whisper how great we are around here. We own every second of it. I am your host, Lillian Abogo, and today I have the incredible Tash Rebuck, founder of the Good Sales Company. Now, Tash has spent over, hear it, a decade in business to business sales, working with hundreds of founders, speaking at some of the most respected stages in the country, the British Library, Somerset House, and the London School of Economics. Yes, the LSE people. But here's what makes Tash different. In a world that's made sales feel like something icky and to be ashamed of, she has built an entire business around making it feel good again, human, value led, and something you can do without losing yourself in the process. So tonight we find out where that conviction came from. So let's begin. Tash, thanks for being on the show.
Well, I've got to say, that is the nicest and most amazing introduction anyone has ever given me. I might have to put that on my tombstone.
Well, it's an awesome intro because it's true. I've seen you in person and you've talked about sales and you make it sound elementary. And I don't mean that in a simple way. You make it sound like it's something that we should and can do. But before we jump into the conversations about sales, I want to know right now is what is bringing you joy today, even if it's something completely ridiculous and has nothing to do with sales?
Oh, oh my gosh. This is the context to that. The reason why it's such a hard question to answer is because the context of the day is that I have been spending a whole day having a bit of a stressful situation with my accountants and VAT. So I'm actually really glad you've asked because I think it's important to take a moment when you're having a tough day to think about something that is good. So thank you for asking
You're
me
welcome.
that. Actually, I have two things and they're going to bring me joy. So I'm very much looking forward to them. The first is that I'm going to go vote, which I always love doing because it's so important.
Yes.
And the second thing is that me and my wife are off to do a house viewing, and that is always very fun and exciting. I mean, mostly if the house is very nice. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to both of those things, and they're gonna bring a lot of joy.
Awesome. I love that. And I love the fact that the first one's about voting. And I know that, we should, people are like, but it's voting. It's important.
Oh, so important. Even if you don't know who to vote for and you feel like you don't want to, just voting anyway for just anyone that isn't the person you really, really, really don't want to win.
You know what? That's sound advice. And for me, I just so that I can get it done, get it out the way, I started postal voting so that on days where it's like I have other things to do, I don't want to miss it. I postal vote, get it out the way, out the door, because to me, it's not just important, is it's vital. It's something that says this has to happen, come with me.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
So, before we digress too much into the world of politics, let's talk about you. Let's go back to you because your work, what you do, you help founders fall in love with sales. And that is a phrase you use. And I have to say, the first time I read that and I actually heard you say that, I thought, this is both slight brave, slight audacious, and a mixture of both. But I heard you speak about this. I want to know, where did that come from for you, that you want to help people fall in love with sales?
So I have always loved sales, and I think that there are definitely people who are more naturally, suited to sales, and that's definitely my personality type. I have a background in acting and stand-up comedy, so I'm no stranger to rejection and humiliation. And I like chatting to people. I'm very social. I can improvise. So sales has always really suited. So I've always loved it. So I think that's always been a really big guiding force for me as, it is possible to love sales and not be a stereotypical sort of like, I love sales because all I want to do is manipulate everyone and own a mega yacht kind of thing. But the real moment that made me want to do what I do now and help people fall in love with sales was the last role that I had. I was head of commercial at a volunteering and charity platform. And what we did was connect businesses and experts with charities who actually really needed that help. So if you're a lawyer, you don't want to just paint someone's walls. Why don't you look at their contracts and make sure it's all solid
Right.
and good? And I was very kindly asked by the CTO of the company to please stop doing sales because the we couldn't keep up the capacity with we'd never had someone do enterprise and it was all a bit too much. So I had a little pause and I took on a volunteering project that was on our platform. And I was connected with a domestic abuse organization that was offering training to retail stores so that the people there could see if there was a situation that need their help and how to respond appropriately.
Right.
And in a few hours, just of giving advice over a couple of weeks, I saw more impact happen on a business than I have ever been able to make as a head of sales or a head of commercial, or whatever fancy title you want to put on it. Because I met them at their level. I wasn't an employee and they trusted me and they just did it. And it worked
Right.
because I've been doing this for a really, really long time. So I know what works. And I had this complete and utter light bulb moment that there are so many people out there who are doing the most incredible things that have built something brilliant, are genius founders, but they've never learned how to do sales. It might not come naturally to them. They might absolutely hate it. But if they can learn how to do it in a way that suits them and their business and their values, then you might not love the action of doing sales, but you can certainly love the results that come out of
Yes.
it. And I just thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to work with business owners, with team leaders, and just make sure that we're doing sales in the right way that fits every personality type.
Okay. You know what? That actually is such an awesome story. And it's true. A lot of founders go into the idea of creating businesses because they have this burning passion. For some, sales is like not the skill I picked up kind of thing. And so I think that is actually quite crucial that you're actually working with founders to actually help them create sales. And it's not I love what you said there, in a way that suits them. Because a lot of training around sales seems to be very cookie cutter, if I use that term, because it's like, okay, so I've made $4 million this month. I make $4 million every month. Sell like me. And then it's like, but I can't. So I
Yeah.
do like that idea of it being suited to that person.
Yeah. And also, a certain style of sales only works for particular audiences. If you're a car salesman, you have to be aggressive because the person can just walk over to the lot next door and pick a different car. So you've
Yeah.
got to be the most charming and grabbing their attention. But if you're going to sell to, let's say, learning and development teams, you don't want to come in aggressive. You don't want to be flashy. You want to have a human connection and conversation. So it can be that's the right style, but your audience needs to be ready for that approach.
True. Okay, and we're going to keep on this because we're talking about the good sales. That's the name of your company. And that name is doing a lot. It's not just a name, it seems to be your manifesto in full words. And what are you truly pushing back against? And I think we've kind of touched on it already. And what are you also saying no to?
So, a big thing that I'm trying to push against is it is the cookie cutter generic. So when I first looked into what are the options are, it looked like there were really two main areas that you could get support. Really, really low cost, but you're going to
Right.
be in a group of 100 and it's going to, and it's just not going to be very good. Or on the other side, you've got consultants that charge the most unbelievable fees and will come in, give the same kind of generic advice that lower level group will, but charge an unbelievable amount. and will often leave businesses in ashes. And
Right.
I've seen it happen. I've been part of companies where I've seen it happen. And it was actually losing my job because of that kind of situation that made me, it was the push that I needed to start my own business.
Right.
So I think one thing that I really struggle with the most in my industry is just lying. Whether you say, oh, it's just an overpromise or it's an exaggeration, it's a lie. And one thing with sales is there's no guarantees. I could
Yeah.
set up an email sequence for one client that gets 10 responses every day and books lots of meetings. I could set up exactly the same thing for another business, everything the same, and it might not work. So, all these people you see online being like, here's how you can book 50 meetings every month. This is how you get up to being a 10K a day invoices.
Yeah.
It's impossible. It's lies. It like even if you can do it once or twice, and that would be great, it's still a lie. And I really don't want people to use those kind of tactics. And that's a lot what I say no to when they get in touch with me. It's just an instant no. I don't want to have a conversation. I don't want to collaborate. We're not a good fit.
I love that. And that came across the first time I saw you speak. That came across when you were talking about sales from this perspective of that one, anyone can do it, and two, that you can do it in a way that doesn't have to break you. And I thought, this is a woman I want to have continual conversations with. And we were sat in that room, and this was for the
Bro London.
Grow London event that was aimed at women founders. And speaking of women and sales, you have sat in front of loads of women, loads of female founders, women founders. And when a woman is in that seat, what do you see? What is the story that she's usually carrying about selling herself, her work, before she has even opened her mouth?
I recently talked about this on a panel for an Out Britain event for Lesbian Visibility Week. And I was asked specifically about lesbians, business owners, but I said it's not specific. It is for all women. We all
Hmm.
carry the same burden when it comes to sales. And it is that our entire lives, we are told, don't take up space, don't ask for what you want, don't be annoying. And no matter how you do sales, it is all of those things. And so it is so hard for us. Not only do we have the usual discomfort with sales that everyone
Yes.
has, we have ingrained generational discomfort at
Conversations.
doing
Yeah.
it. And that's if you just look at just white women. And if you go beyond that and you look into different races, sexuality, every single it adds so much more complexity and it makes it so much harder. And so there is a lot of work that we need to do to be able to push past that, get past the imposter syndrome voice.
Right.
And I have a piece of advice that I give, and it sounds silly, but it genuinely works. So on average, men are a lot more confident when it comes to work and taking opportunities.
Yes.
So when it comes to job applications, a man will apply to a job that they might only match, I don't know the exact percentage, but let's say
10%.
50.
10%, Tash. 10%.
Stop it. I was going to say 50%, and I was like, that might be a bit
10.
much.
Tash. 10.
10%.
10.
What is it for women then? How much?
Most women wouldn't put themselves forward until they were 80%. And then there are women who are waiting till they tick off every box. And at that point,
I
you're
was that
overqualified.
woman. Yeah, I
But
was that one then. Yeah,
yeah,
always have been.
10%
Wow.
Tash.
Okay, so thank you. I'm going to keep that stored forever now. And then same on the investment side, when investors, VCs, PEs, when they get numbers from men and women and they're looking at their forecast of what they're going to make in revenue, for men, they will often divide it by 3. And for
Wow.
women, they will times it by 3 because they know that they're going to be, the men are going to be overestimating and the women are going to be underestimating. So,
Wow.
and not all of them will even think to do that, they might just go, oh, those numbers are rubbish. And so for any women listening who's fundraising, look at your numbers and go, am I being conservative or am I shooting for the stars here? Am I going for the worst case scenario because I should be presenting the best case scenario? And so the question I always used to ask myself when I was going for promotions, when I wanted a new job, and I always say to all of my clients and my friends, would a straight white man hesitate in making this decision? And if the answer is no, then go and damn well do it. And I know it seems silly, but genuinely, the number of times I've had someone message me and go, I was not sure about doing a thing. And I had your voice in my head. Would a straight white man apply to this? And it was, yes, of course they would. And so I applied and I got it. It's a really good mantra to live by.
Listen, that is great advice. And I've seen variations of that. And my thing is, would Brad apply? Yes. Okay. If Brad will apply, I will apply.
Brad
So,
will always apply.
yes, even if Brad only has 10%. And to all the Brads out there, I'm sorry that we have dragged your name through slander today, but I apologize.
I don't.
And this is the thing that we talk about, this whole thing about money and the stories we carry. And you've actually even touched on it because you've actually said that mantra is what helped you break through that own story. And I think that a lot of women owners are stuck in that loop and stuck in that story of how do I make my voice heard? And especially right now, where when we are thinking about sales, we have this thing that sales is social media. How do we correct that? How do we, for somebody, if you're dealing with a client who says, social media is the bane of my soul and very existence, how can people still market their business and reach and do sales without it?
So it's really interesting. I find that most people who come to me will say, I'm doing so many sales things and I just don't know why it's not working. And then they will list things like, I've updated my website, I'm posting on LinkedIn, I've got lots of reels on Instagram. All of that is marketing.
Right.
And so what usually happens is they're hiding their head in the sand because sales is the uncomfortable thing. So they'll go, okay, well, I'll do these activities that kind of feel like they're sales, but they're not really sales, but it's really marketing. And then at least I feel like I'm doing something. But
Right.
especially for B2B business owners, sales converts much faster than marketing.
Right.
Marketing can take a really, really long time to grow. I mean, if you're amazing at it or you've got an amazing team, you might be totally fine. But for me personally, I was able to generate sales for my business within the first few weeks of launching. In fact, it was the first week of launching, I got my first client. The marketing, the first time I got a contract from, oh, I saw this post and I wanted to get in touch, 2 years. And I was
Wow.
doing it consistently as well. I'm bad at it, by the way. I've outsourced. I've got an amazing marketing team. Because if you're not good at something, just let someone else help you with it is also my mantra there. But the big thing that has worked for me, and I think works for a lot of people, is if you're comfortable with the marketing stuff and you're posting on social media, make sure you put an additional action on top of it. So let's say you've got a blog post that you put on LinkedIn and you have an email wall behind it. So if people want to read it, they have to give you their email address.
Right.
Follow up with them, send them an email. Or you post something on your Instagram and you see someone has commented or shared it with their friend. Why not connect with them and say, thank you so much for engaging. Looks like you really like what I was talking about. Would be great to hear more about you and why this resonated. Marketing is amazing. It is putting a message out so that your customers can learn about you and hear about you. But sometimes they need that little extra pull in. And that is
Right.
what sales does to your marketing function.
I love that. And it sounds relatively easy. I think we overcomplicate it.
We do. And I think the thing is, when it comes to sales, I think there's an idea that it's this old school boys club. It's all about smoking cigars, drinking whiskey, going out for meals. Maybe not that much anymore, but it's a lot of like having a charming chat and
Yeah.
all of that. But sales, the whole sales process, like start to finish, that part, the conversation, is maybe the tiniest part of the entire process.
Right.
Because all the way from lead, like list building, lead generation, booking meetings, chasing people, following up, getting a negotiation, getting a contract closed, all of that is admin and organization. And so we often think that, oh, that one tiny part is the most important, but it really isn't. And there's one skill that women have in abundance, and that is incredible amounts of organization and project management. I mean, it's one of the whole idea that if you put a salary against all the things that a stay-at-home mum does, they'd be one of the highest paid people in the world. I mean,
Yes.
like the project management is unbelievable. They're managing so many schedules at once. And so if you put that into sales, it's exactly the same, except they actually have the CRM in their brain. They don't even need it on their computer. So I think that, yeah, there's that element as well where you can really see women shine and excel too.
You know, the way you've put it, because yes, we know using the stay-at-home mom, her organizational skills, her networking skills, her ability to negotiate with the most hostile individuals, toddlers. They negotiate, especially if you have multiple toddlers in your home. You are doing a hostage negotiation that even the UN could learn from.
Absolutely.
And even thinking about it, when you're talking about the CRM and they have all the numbers, the figures, who is doing what and why, and the dates. And so there are things that we take relatively for granted and say, oh, well, that's easy. Nobody pays me for that. And so we kind of navigate away from that and go, oh, I must do sales the way I see it being done online and social media. And then we wonder why it's not converting because we've moved away from our natural geniuses.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go sit in the dark and think about that when we get off this call at some point.
That's what I do every evening. Sit and contemplate sales in silence for an hour.
You know, and yeah, okay, I'm gonna come back to you after this call and I'm gonna give you some feedback on that. You know, we are talking, and like we said, I saw you speak at the Grow London, and that was earlier this year, but you have actually graced some of the biggest stages, the British London, the LSE, Somerset House. And how did you build the authority to walk into them? Was there a moment where you stopped waiting for the invitation and just decided, I'm going to be in there?
Oh, I've never been one to wait for an invitation because those invitations never come.
Mm,
I'm a big one for if you want things to happen, you do have to go make them happen, you know? So funnily enough, London School of Economics was just a wonderful sort of like, I think if you do really good work and you're a good person and you make an effort, good things do come. And it's not because it's just luck. I think that, and actually, I have a podcast and my co host, Steph Melodia, she talks about hacking luck. And it's really interesting and insightful idea of we create our luck. You know, the
yes.
harder I work, the luckier I get. And so the organization that I supported in my charity time was one of the LSE accelerator companies. So they
Mm,
introduced me to them. And so I went in and spoke to their cohort, and I now every year will do a sales training for their new accelerator program cohort.
nice.
But every single place I've spoken at has been because either someone has worked with me and has talked about it to someone else and they've gotten in touch, or a direct referral, or I have really worked for it. And Somerset House is my favorite example of this. I went to a networking event that was actually one of the first ones I paid for. And it was where I really realized how good it is to pay for networking events. And I met this amazing woman, and we were talking, and in her job, she ran a training program.
Right.
And she said, add me on LinkedIn and we'll connect and maybe you can do some sales training. And I was like, brilliant, excellent, great opportunity. So first day, I send her a LinkedIn message and she goes, oh, thanks so much. Here's my email. So I send her an email. I don't get an answer. Send another email. I don't get an answer. Send a third email. I don't get an answer. And so I think, okay, well, I'm going to go follow up on LinkedIn. And she responds straight away. And she's like, oh my gosh, I've given you the wrong email address. Here's my new email address. So I send her an email and I don't hear back, but I'm not a fool. So I'm going to go back to LinkedIn this time because I know she responds there. So I said, send you an email. What do you think? And she goes, Tash, I'm so sorry, but I've actually left that job now.
Oh,
But I'll keep you in mind for anything else. And I'm sat there going, it's been about a month and a half.
right.
No, 2 months, because I'd done 8 follow-ups. And I
Okay.
try not to ever do more than 1 in a week because that's too much. But I don't let people forget about me. So it's every week. And I just thought, oh my gosh, wasted time, just frustrating. The next day, I get a call from her and she says, I've been asked to put together a panel of experts for an event at Somerset House that is being hosted by Alaka Bank. Would you like to do it? And I was like, hell yeah, that sounds amazing. And it was a paid opportunity, always very
Nice.
important. It was, I think, probably the best paid speaking opportunity I'd had so far, which is even more exciting.
Very cool.
And because of the opportunities that I've had because of it, I got working with the University of Greenwich. I met my co-host from the podcast. I got to speak at Rebel meetups. I actually think it probably was the reason why I was introduced to Grow London as well,
Right.
because almost everything has in many ways come from that. And so it is all about sales. It has been, it's all been about sales and being persistent. And even though every single time I would go to send that follow up, my brain was screaming, stop it, leave this poor woman alone. The other voice in my brain that I really tried to listen to more was saying, but what if she says yes?
Mm.
You've got a 0% chance if you don't send this. You have any kind of percentage of a chance if you do. So don't choose 0. And also, I assume that the voice in my head saying don't be annoying is some old man from the 1800s. So shut up. Shut up, Gerald, I'm doing it.
So now we have Gerald and Brad. Okay. You know what? Yeah, let's tell all the Geralds to shut up, especially ones in our heads. We can't have them interrupted. I am so glad you took that chance and you actually take the chances and you actually do the follow-ups and you said 8 follow-ups. A part of my soul was like, and I'm like, see, this is the difference between you and I. And so that is my lesson for the day is always keep the follow-up going. And that's I think a very powerful one, especially for women in businesses, because we tend to start second guessing ourselves. Oh, but we'll send this message. I don't want to send too many emails because people will unsubscribe. Well, if they unsubscribe, they unsubscribe. Other people will subscribe. So these are the key things that I think as women we need to understand about sales.
Absolutely. I think a lot of the thing that holds us back, and this applies to any business owner, but I do find that it is a stronger feeling with female founders that I work with, is one of the reasons we don't follow up or we don't chase, or we don't ask that question we want to, is one, because we are scared of rejection, which is totally fair. Rejection is horrible. No one enjoys it. But when you look at the statistics, rejection is one of the smallest percentages of what will happen if you send messages to people. 95 to 97% of your messages will get ignored. So you can't really be scared of rejection if it is literally the smallest percentage of what can happen. The next thing is people are so scared about their reputation and that they're going to damage it and someone's going to be annoyed at them and then they're going to tell everyone, don't work with this person. They sent me 8 follow-ups. But anyone listening right now, and even you probably have had a sales message come into your inbox today.
Yes.
Could you tell me what their name was?
I
Or what
mean,
their company name was, or what they were selling to
oh
you?
yeah, some of it is coaching, some of it is AI products, but it's not enough. None of the emails that have come in will say, oh, I'm going to ruin someone's reputation because they're sending me too much emails. It's like,
Exactly.
it's funny because I was going to say there was something that I was about to say. It's part for the course in business for people to send you continuous emails. And I remember I'm looking at somebody's emails. I have someone that basically I got on their mailing list, and I think I've gotten from them 10 emails in one day. But it's a program they have coming up. But it's like, okay, 10 may be an exaggeration. Sorry. Let's go for 5. I believe I've seen 5 emails from them in one day.
That is still unbelievable. That is so many emails.
It is. However, I look at them and they are getting sales. I know they are because they're talking about the sales and the work that they're doing. And then there are people who are like, oh, I want to only send 1 email a week compared to the person sending 5 emails a day.
I would argue the person sending 5 emails a day can't be as busy as they say they are if they're having to send 5 emails a day. But I think that's the big thing is it's all about finding where you're comfortable with. And I
Yes.
say this to my clients. I will tell you that I'll follow up with someone 10 times with them not responding. I don't care because I
Mm,
believe sales is about getting a yes or a no. I have made that voice quiet down so much. I really don't care anymore.
mm.
I do not think that someone who sends 1 follow up and then never follow ups again is going to go to 10. But can we maybe meet at 3 or 4?
Yeah.
Statistically, if you send 5 emails, so 80% of deals get signed after 5 emails. So at the very, very minimum, we should all be sending 5 follow ups, always. But if we can't, how close can we get? Just a little
Mm.
bit. Just push ourselves that little bit extra and send that extra follow up because you never know.
That is a good point. You never know. So that is the key point. The devil's in the detail, and the follow up is where you get the win. And I love that follow up is what led you to Somerset House. And that has opened so many different doors for you. And that is actually what it is. And you said hacking luck. I definitely need to go back and listen to your podcast as well and listen to the episodes on hacking luck. So that is something that I'm going to do. And while we're talking about podcasts and you're on mine and on the show is called In Her Own Name. And we always talk about reclamation of voice, of space, of who you are without waiting for someone else to sign off on it. I want to ask, looking at your life, looking back to Tash before she quieted Gerald and all of that, was there a moment in your journey where you stopped shrinking, where you fully stepped into your own name and thought, yeah, this is me, all of it, the good, the bad, and the indifferent?
Yes, actually, when I first thought about this question and what I might want to answer, my brain went completely blank and it just kept giving me the same situation over and over. I kept saying, Tash, you can't tell that story to Lillian. No, please just think of a better one. Just think of a better story. And then at a certain point, you have to just go, but then that's just lying. So just tell the truth.
Right,
And it was, so let me think, it was in December because we were in a hotel over Christmas for my wife and my anniversary, our wedding anniversary. So I'd been running my business for 6 months.
right,
And the change in the business in 6 months was fantastic. I couldn't believe it. I was so happy. And we were staying in, nice hotel. And I was having a shower. And I had just, before I'd gotten into the shower, had someone confirm, I think, a coaching partnership with
right,
me. And it was at a higher price point than I'd had before. And it was, I think, probably my first like package rather than an hourly rate, which is how I started.
right.
And I was in the shower. And so the context for me is I was really, really badly bullied when I was younger. I say younger, pretty much until I left university.
Oh,
I
wow.
I don't really think I really have any mates from those days, apart from 1 or 2 people who I absolutely adore. But
Mm.
I'm a real Marmite person, apparently. But yeah, something about me really made kids want to bully me. So I was always bullied. So I had
Oh, wow.
basically this massive complex of no one ever wants to spend time with me. People don't want to be around me. I had this moment where I was in this wonderful hotel with my wonderful wife. and we were celebrating an anniversary, and I just got this email confirming, and I just had this moment when I went, people want to pay to spend time with me. People are literally going, oh, to spend time with Tash, I'll pay money for that. And it was like every sad, like version childhood Tash sat up and was like, oh my gosh, they are worthy of someone wanting to spend time with. Like, this is real, this is hard evidence. People can say it all they want and be nice,
Yeah.
but money is money. And I feel like I left that shower with this level of confidence, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm always who I'm supposed to have been. I just needed to get to this point in my life
Mm.
for everyone else to get me and for it to make sense. And I think now it just turns out I've always just been a crazy entrepreneur, and I just needed to be in the world of other crazy entrepreneurs.
I love that. And I think you've kind of stepped with that story, you've kind of stepped into the next question, because the next question is, looking at your journey so far, what would you whisper or shout to your 18-year-old self? But before we go into that question, I want to say, I hope those people from uni days, I hope they can see you now. And I hope they're just kicking themselves. I hope they are kicking themselves wherever they are, because
Me too.
I don't know. I'm going to phrase it this way. You say Marmite, I say that basically who you are as a person kind of disturbed their demons, and it had nothing to do with you. It was basically your light, your version of yourself, who you were, disturbed the demons that were residing within them. That's how I look at it.
I can see that. I have always, no matter what, no matter how often and how much I've been bullied, I have never been able to be anything other than myself. I've
Mm.
ADHD, I'm unfiltered. So I am who I am, and that is that. And yeah, so I agree. I think that either they didn't like that I was very authentically myself, or they saw something that they would like to express in me.
Yeah, so basically, and when I'm saying demons, I mean that metaphorically.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
just basically your presence disturbed their spirit, because either they couldn't, like you said, express the way that you express, or they wanted to be you but couldn't understand how they could. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, I hope they're kicking themselves someplace. So now let's go into that question, because that needed to be said. What would you whisper or shout to 18-year-old Tash right now?
I think about this a lot, and I especially thought about it when I was doing this panel just a couple of weeks ago, because, and can I change it and say what I would have whispered to like 12-year-old Tash?
Yes.
Thank you. Because it was, I just, and I've had a lot of pinch me moments like it, but this one was the most recent and it meant so much. And I just wanted to go back in time and just put my arms around little Tash and just say, everything is going to be absolutely fine.
Mm.
And beyond that, you cannot even imagine how amazing everything in your life is going to be. You can't even imagine it. So just keep on going until you get there.
I love that. I love that. And to your 12-year-old Tash, hey, we have to thank her, because of her, you are you.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah. And so as we move along, I normally ask this: what are your two truths or tools that you would share to help a woman lead as their most unapologetic, authentic selves?
So I think my first is the one I had earlier, which is just ask yourself, would a straight white man hesitate in this decision making? That's definitely it.
Yes.
And then the second thing is a very, very specific, which is put your pricing up. I could say as a blanket to almost anyone listening, any woman listening, put your prices up.
Mm.
Your value is not defined by other people's budgets. So if people can't afford your fees, find the people that can, because that is the validation. that makes a real difference because it's data and it's numbers on a spreadsheet or in a bank account. And we undervalue ourselves and we shouldn't. So charge more.
Okay, thank you. And we've spoken about what's bringing you joy today already. And to wrap up the show, I'm going to ask you, what is the one book you are reading right now?
Whoa, what is the book that I'm reading? Oh, so I'm a big fiction person.
Okay.
So I am just at the end, which is why I was like, what am I reading? Because I was like, no, I haven't actually finished it. I'm on the last few pages of Babel.
Okay.
It's a incredible book. It's really interesting. It's fantasy, but it's about language and colonialism
Ooh,
and like the Industrial Revolution. And it's really a brilliant book. It's really a fantastic, complex, interesting book, and I really love it.
nice.
I'm not one for business books.
I can't remember who said that. It's one of the really big names out there in, I can't remember. They go, if you want to get very far, stop reading self-help books. Go back to reading fiction. And I'm like, okay. And their reasoning was that basically self-help is all regurgitated, that there's a lot of wisdom in fiction, whether science fiction, in fiction you find the nuggets. And I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I can totally see that because I think sometimes I'll read a book like I absolutely love The Growth Mindset by Carol Dwyer. I think it's a brilliant book. I think
Yeah.
it's a great methodology to live by. And but then I know that people will go and read many different variations of that. And I don't see the value in it. So I read the ones that resonate and then I just move back to fictions.
Yeah. Okay, I see that. And it's funny you point Carol Dweck. I love her work. By the way, she is an incredible woman. And if you want to see growth mindset that it doesn't exactly scream growth mindset, the book The Alchemist. That is
Okay.
a growth mindset because from him being a shepherd, he's going on these adventures and changing how he thinks about life and what he's seeing. If you've never read it, Paulo Coelho's book is called The Alchemist, and that is kind of growth mindset in action. And yeah,
Adding it to my Goodreads. Thank you very much.
yes. And Babel, who is the author of Babel? So I can add that to my list as well.
Oh, that is a very good question. I have it right here. It is written by R.F. Kuang,
R.F. Kuang.
Kuang.
Awesome. So I'm going to add that to the notes of the show so people can go and check it out. And speaking of being checked out, how can people connect and find you?
So if people would like to find me, I think I'm the only Tash Rebuck on LinkedIn. So do come and connect with me on LinkedIn. But you can also find my company on thegoodsalescompany.com. We're on Instagram as well. That's Tash_Rebuck. Yeah, just follow along, get in touch. And if you are interested in hearing a bit more about sales, please do, listen to my podcast called The S Word Sales, because it's the dirtiest word in business. Yeah, I think there are really amazing insights that you can get from it. We do things that are educational, but it's also a lot of laughs, a lot of interesting stories, and we speak to some really brilliant people in the sales space as well. So yeah, all of those.
Okay, so that's awesome. And what we'll do, we'll also make sure that the link to your podcast is actually in the show notes as well, so people can link directly to it. So I want to say thank you for being on the show for myself as one, a woman in business, and two, because I just think you're fabulous anyway. So thank you for being on the show today.
Such a pleasure. This has been such a nice conversation. I think it's completely reframed after a stressful day. Yeah, I feel like it's been really wonderful. So thank you.
You're welcome. So, people, it's a wrap. I have interviewed the amazing Tash Rebuck. Listen, as women, we owe it to ourselves to do sales and do it right in a way that honors us. If you are still struggling with that conversation, I advise you to reach out to Tash, and she will help you navigate your sales conversation so that it sounds like you without breaking you. You know what to do. If this show has been impactful, you've enjoyed it, Don't let your friend miss out because what kind of friend are you? Share it with them. You can find us in all the good places where you get your podcast. I almost made my guest snort.
That was really funny. That was great. Yeah.
So, you know where to find us. Drop us a message, connect with us. And if you are saying, hey, I should be in that seat, reach out to me. You know where to find me. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on also Instagram under In Her Own Name. This is Lillian Bogo, and thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for listening to In Her Own Name. Step into your week lit up, aligned, and fully you. If you are enjoying this podcast, share it with your people. Don't let them miss out. And connect with us on all places social.